grade.
Okay,
for the $20 bill, the question is, who was Paderewski's piano teacher when he was 6 years old? Time, okay, fine. Well, we just as well knock this quiz off, because from this point on, the questions get harder. But don't anybody go away. I'll give you a chance to win the 1,000 at the end of this session here, when we get right to the end of it. I did this for a particular reason. It's very important as we invest this time together in some of the skills of persuasion and selling, that we would be on the right basis with each other, you and me. Pop Warner could not have competed in any athletic event with Jim Thorpe. He didn't have the physical build, he didn't have the stamina, and he was in a different generation, but he helped Jim Thorpe get more out of Jim Thorpe. Somebody taught Einstein 2 times 2 is 4. I don't know if you can even find that name in the history book, but whoever it was pretty important what Einstein ultimately achieved. Somebody probably forced Paderewski to play the piano scales when he was a kid. Didn't have the genius, didn't have the emotional drive, didn't have the talent that Paderewski had, but this person was pretty important in helping Paderewski to reach more of his potential. So my point is this: who I am, what I've achieved, is not really important. What's important, as we share this time together, do I have some ideas that are going to help you to be more effective working with your customers in the sales profession? That's what I'm really here for, right? Right. I believe we have a problem sometimes in the selling profession. It is possible that we might try to throw too many ideas at a salesman at one time, and then he can't remember the idea long enough to use it face to face with a customer. And no idea of selling is of any value unless you use the idea. I was reading a book the other day that man had written over 32 million laws since the beginning of recorded history. I went on to say if we would follow just 10 fundamental laws, we wouldn't need any of the 32 million. Can anybody guess what those 10 fundamental laws are? That's exactly right. What I'd like to do in our relationship is to take this whole mass of selling psychology and mechanics of selling and boil it down to those few basic rules. If you know what these are and can do them effectively, it will give you better control of the selling interview. Some of the things we're going to cover, you've already heard before. They're so basic, actually, you could find in the book I mentioned just a few seconds ago, the Holy Bible. But I believe there are a lot of good ideas out of this book that apply to selling. One verse in particular, I know, it says, "Seeking ye shall find." That's not bad for prospecting, right? There's another verse in here that says, "Ask and it'll be given unto you. Ask and you'll receive." That's a pretty good closing technique. There's another verse in here I think of occasionally when I work with some sales groups. It's, "Why seek ye the living among the dead?" There are a number of chapters in the Bible that are almost actually complete sales format. In the 10th chapter of St. Luke, this is where Jesus tells the disciples how to spread the gospel. That's kind of a selling job, right? Right. Well, here's a man who really understood sales psychology, both from the standpoint of the salesman and from the standpoint of the sales manager. Second verse, 10th chapter of St. Luke, he says, "The harvest is truly great, but the laborers are few." I asked a sales manager the other day, "How many salesmen work for you?" And he said, "About half." Well, that's not a bad average when you come right down to it. There's a reason for this, and it's actually in the 3rd verse of the 10th chapter of St. Luke, where it says this: "Behold, I send you out as lambs among wolves." Selling is not an easy job. I think the selling profession requires as much knowledge as any other profession. I know it requires just as much effort, or maybe more, than other professions. And I know it requires a great deal of courage, perhaps more courage than many of the other professions. Because I hope this doesn't come as a surprise or shock to anybody here, but when you go out to make sales calls, they don't always say yes. Would you believe it? Sometimes they say no.
I learned it.
Now, if a salesman gets enough of those no answers in a row, his tendency is to gradually turn that rejection away from his product and proposition and turn it on to whom? And he says, "Boy, there must be something wrong with me." Can somebody tell me what's the first law of nature?
The law of
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation, that's right. What's the second law? In the group the other day, some smart aleck said sex. That's all. That's all part of the same thing. One of the things we have to preserve is our ego. That's the way we feel about ourselves. Now, if you get these no answers and you start saying there must be something wrong with me, it's kind of hard to preserve your ego. But some salesmen very cleverly figure out a way to do this. Just don't make any calls. No rejection. You know why they have picture shows open downtown in the daytime?
Fine. For sale.
That's for sale. I know, because I see them there. There's another symptom you can sometimes see of this fear factor of going out and exposing yourself to rejection. It's where a salesman might have prospect